Okay, guys, I decided just to get comfortable. I'm probably gonna do the dishes, but I just decided to get comfortable. I'm not gonna go anywhere, so.
My sons, are you ready to drop the puck?
All right. So I'm probably gonna split these.
Just in order to get my minister's license, I started a religion inspired by my love of hockey. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I call it Our Lady.
Nah, I might just. I'll just do all three of them. Okay, pita bread. My favorite bread recipe out of all the breads I've made and failed to make is a simple pita bread recipe. I have not tried making them yet. This recipe produces neat, fluffy little pita bread loaves. Children love them and they make great sandwich pockets. Equipment: baking sheet, preferably ceramic metal tongs. Ingredients: 1 cup of warm water. Do not use tap water. I've said that before. 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 1/4 teaspoons or 1 package of yeast, 1 1/2 tablespoons of olive oil. I don't know if I would use olive oil. Coconut oil, avocado oil, but I don't know if I would use olive oil. 2 tablespoons of salt. You're going to use especially that much. I would use, definitely make sure you're going to use sea salt, some kind of sea salt, or the best that I would recommend is the Redmond's real salt. All right. Instructions. Number 1, put the water, about 1 cup of flour, and the yeast into a bowl and let it proof for about 20 minutes. The mixture will be foamy and smell yeasty when it's ready. Number 2, add the rest of the flour, oil, and salt, then stir until it's a sticky ball of dough. Then stir until a sticky ball of dough is formed. Knead the dough in a stand mixer or by hand for 8 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes. I would recommend by hand. I mean, the stand mixer is okay, but what if there's no electricity, guys? Until it feels springy in your hands. Number 3, oil a large bowl enough for at least twice the amount of dough you have. Then place the dough inside. Turn the dough, coating it lightly all over with the oil. Now, butter is a real good one for this. You know, like real butter melted. Cover the bowl with wax paper and a towel. Let the dough rise for about 2 hours. See, that's why I can't do it here, because cockroaches would get up inside it. No thanks. Number 4, once the dough is risen, cover your work surface with a light dusting of flour. Plus, I don't have good counter space for that. Knead the dough again for about 2 minutes. Break the dough into 8 roughly equal-sized pieces, making balls with the dough. Place the dough on the work surface, sprinkle it with flour, and cover it with a towel. Let it rise again for about 30 minutes. Number 5. While you're waiting for the dough to rise, oil the baking sheet. I would use butter again. Turn the oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit and put the baking sheet inside so it can warm up. Number 6. Once the dough is risen, take each ball and flatten them into circles, about 8 inches wide and 1/8 of an inch thick, which is about roughly about like that. Something like that. Number 7. Put one of the circles of dough onto the baking sheet. Let it bake for about 2 minutes, then flip the loaf over and cook for 1 minute on the other side. Remove the pan from the oven and place the bread in the bowl. Repeat step 7 for the rest of the dough circles. Okay.
I do. Give me about do you take Fernando and Jesse to be what I just said? I do. I. Thanks, water. Please do. I gotta go.
Sourdough starter. Now, this is one of the things I really want to try, but again, I don't have the surface to. Like, I could get the jar to do this, but I don't have the work surface to make the bread, so. Sourdough starter. If you want to make bread, you'll eventually want to make sourdough, and for that, you'll need a starter. If you have friends who bake, you can ask them for some of their sourdough starter. This is my favorite way to get a starter since you learn more about baking from others. However, if no one you know bakes, then you can make your own. You should think of your starter as more of a strange pet than a baking ingredient. If properly cared for and fed, the starter will last for decades. The older the starter gets, the more effective it will be. Equipment: quart-sized mason jar, dish towel, and elastic band, rubber band. Ingredients: whole wheat flour and non-chlorinated water. So this is another reason why I want to wait until we're on the property, because the water will be a lot better, because I will just plain get that from our stream and I'll filter it and I will, boil it and then use it for cooking. And I'll keep it in glass containers. I'm going to try to get rid of all the plastic. Instructions. Number 1, to start, combine 1 cup of flour, remember, whole wheat flour, and half a cup of water in a mason jar and mix it together completely. There shouldn't be any dry spots at all when you're done. Number 2, cover the jar with a dish towel and use the rubber band to hold the dish towel to the lip of the jar. Don't let any starter come in contact with metal, as metal can cause a reaction and stunt the growth of bacteria in the starter. Store the starter mixture away from direct sunlight on your kitchen counter, or I find it does better on top of my refrigerator as the heat in the kitchen rises, encouraging growth. I may keep it in our outdoor kitchen. Maybe, I don't know. Depends. Number 3, 24 hours later, throw half of the starter mix into your compost, or give it to a friend, and replace it with 1/2 cup of flour and 1 cup of water. More if the starter gets too dry. For reference, it should be the consistency of slightly thick flour paste. Number 4, repeat step 3 for 6 days, feeding it daily. See, I think that I did try this in Michigan, but I think that's where I screwed up, because I forgot, like with my job and everything, so. Through this period, the starter will bubble, foam, and produce a sour, yeasty smell. It may also produce a clear, alcohol-scented liquid on top. This is called beer. If it does produce a beer, discard the beer and feed the starter as normal. Number 5, at the end of 6 days, you should have about 12 ounces of starter. If you don't, add more water and flour to make up the difference and continue the process for 3 more days. So you'll be doing that for 9 days. And that was number 5. Number 6, store the starter in the door of your refrigerator with a dish towel and elastic band intact. Once a week, feed the starter as previously explained. Whenever you make a recipe using your starter, keep at least 4 ounces of starter in the jar, then add fresh flour and water to make up the difference. And that's sourdough starter. And I will definitely do a video for you guys when I do start this, so you can see it. I wish I would have done one in Michigan when I was doing it, because it was going really well, and then things just got out of hand up there. Anyway, Mom's cornbread. Chloe made some cornbread down here, and it turned out really good. While not as glamorous as bread made from whole wheat flour, cornbread is a staple food in the South. It takes almost no time to produce and gives families a nice bit of starch to go with a spicy bowl of chili or a big pot of black-eyed peas. It was also one of the things my mother excelled at cooking. My mom was pretty good at it too. Here's a recipe. My mother didn't really believe in measurement, so you may have to play with the amount of the individual ingredients to get your cornbread right. Ingredients: 2 cups of cornmeal mix, 1 egg, 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk, 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise. Homemade mayonnaise would be, the best, obviously. And I'm gonna go ahead. I'm definitely going to put a mayonnaise recipe in the cookbook. So. Instructions. Number 1, preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 2, combine all ingredients in a bowl and whisk them together until they are well incorporated. This recipe uses mayonnaise instead of oil, which makes for a much moister cornbread. While the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, my mother and I simply use a tablespoon and scoops 2 healthy globs of mayo right into the mix. Number 3, pour the mix, which should resemble thick batter, into a greased cast iron skillet. If you have it, lard is the best thing to grease the skillet with. If not, you can also use oil or cooking spray. No, don't use cooking spray. Do not use cooking spray. That stuff is horrible. With the lard, make sure it is fresh. Freshly made from a homestead, local. Don't buy the crap on the store shelves unless you know they get it locally.
Thanks for coming, Lola.
Number 4, bake for about 20 minutes. When the cornbread is ready, the edges will separate from the skillet. And a fork poked into the top of the cornbread will come out clean. And there's the cornbread. Alright, so that was the end of section 5 and chapter 19, the basics of baking. So I will go ahead and get off from here, and I will get this up there, and I will see you guys on the next one, which will start section 6 on lifestyle. And the first one in that one is on children and homeschooling. And see, there's a couple of homesteader profiles in here. Well, maybe 2, I don't know. One. Cats raising kids on the homestead.
Let's do this.
And then chapter 21, community. The importance of community, building a community, which is what I want to do. Homesteading community. And then chapter 22, marking time. Living in the seasons.
Anything you'd like to say to the gentleman? Steve?
Faith and homesteading, celebrate the seasons, check the almanac. And then it goes on to the conclusion. So we're getting through the book, guys. But I will go ahead and get this up there, and I will see you guys in the next one. So you guys make sure and check your subscriptions. Do your research, guys. Do your research on this stuff. On everything that we've covered so far, go back through, whatever we've covered. Do your research. Pinterest is an amazing place to get information from. Recipes, information, you name it. So anyway, we'll give you guys more update on our recipe book. The more I get in there and get done. So I will see you guys in the next video, and make sure you check your subscriptions. Make sure you're subscribed. Click the notification bell, and make sure you're getting all the notifications, and I will see you guys in a little bit. Bye, guys.